The young guys coming in have made it very clear they believe in Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. We're joined by Auburn message board legend, the Charlie 5, also known as Kyle Rush, the man over at the barn, auburn.com. Go check it out and sign up today. We'll talk about what's next in recruiting, as well as something that I think is being overlooked when we talk about the Auburn fan base currently. But something pretty cool has happened over the last 24 to 48 hours, I think. A lot of these guys who've been committed, some for a long time, some for just a few months, Kyle, are tweeting out saying they believe in Auburn. They love Auburn. We saw, Woodby do it, J. Mike. I mean, there's been a handful of guys so far. And that's the narrative, right? Like the folks who are super skeptical about what Hugh Freeze and Auburn are doing because they continue to lose these close games. It's like, oh, well, the future's only good if you hold on to these guys. Well, I think these guys are saying, hey, Auburn fans, like, we're here. We're in this. We're ready to come help.
Yeah, it's almost like you're sort of dreading, you're waiting for the shoe to drop and like all these guys to start bolting, and then they just don't. Like and almost they come out and almost reaffirm themselves. Deuce Knight had a lot of very strong quotes about reviving the program and understanding what they're signing up for. There were a couple of weeks ago, Eric Winters took a trip to Georgia, and remember that recruitment came down to basically like the last week, and people thought he was going to sign with Georgia, and then he ended up committing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Winters, because that quote that he talked to reporters afterwards. He's like, I wanted to go check out Georgia, and all it did was reaffirm my commitment to Auburn. It's like, wow, like that guy's bought in. Blake Woodby tweets out, I love Auburn. Eric Winters quote tweets that with the 100 emoji. J. Mike did the same thing, but quote tweeted with 1,000. You mentioned Deuce Knight. These are kind of some of the guys that maybe some people had some questions on. Alvin's not going anywhere at this point. I mean, there's been some other outspoken guys, but is Auburn going to keep all of these guys? Probably not. They're probably not going to keep all of them, but they could. I mean, this class seems super, super close together. But to act like it's this foregone conclusion that Auburn's about to lose this top 5 class, I don't know where people are looking at to point at and say, yes, this is a sure thing that's going to happen. I'm not seeing it.
Auburn fans in general, we kind of do this sometimes where we sort of, if we prepare for the worst, it's sort of like it
won't hurt as much.
It won't hurt as much.
It's still going to hurt. It's going to hurt the same amount.
It will. It's going to hurt the same amount. The same thing as saying, like, if you think there's no way we can beat, if you tell yourself all week, there's no way we can beat Kentucky, we're not going to beat Kentucky, you're going to sit on the couch Saturday and you're going to be watching the game and you're going to think we can beat Kentucky. Like, you can't hide it. You you're going to do it. And if we lose to Kentucky, it doesn't matter if you said we're going to lose to Kentucky 1,000 times over the week. It's still going to hurt you. It's still going to make you mad.
That's right.
So I think we're trying to shield ourselves, but we just look at things different. We look at things different. And I think these guys are seeing all these young guys, recognizing real. Hey, these are this is the real foundation of the team. And those guys are playing some pretty good football. Caleb Harris is playing really good football. DeMarcus Riddick's playing really good football. Malik Blockton's playing really good football. I want to go play beside those guys, and let's turn this thing around. And I see a path where I can get on the field early. I mean, they just see things different than us. And I think it's very significant after this string of losses and the way you've lost them, for them to come out in solidarity. You almost wonder if it was manufactured a little bit. You almost wonder if it's like, hey, we need somebody. We need some sort of vote of confidence. But Blake Woodby was the kind of the one that started it off. And I would have felt like it would have been somebody different if that was the case.
Yeah, me too. And I don't know. I like Blake Woodby. Committed it, or he tweeted that out yesterday at 12:23, which was close to 12:30, which I think is important. If you know, you know. But to me, I think when you look at the freshman
I
class.
just got that.
That took you way too long. When you look at the freshman class, like that's kind of what's being talked about. But look at the sophomore class. That's really becoming a big part of what they're trying to do. Jeremiah Cobb played the most that he's played in relevant snaps this season. Connor Liu, Keldrick Falk, Braden Joyner might be a redshirt sophomore, but still, like Braden Joyner, he's in a position to start at guard next year now, based off of what he did this past weekend. And so we talk about stacking classes, like this is what this looks like. And so now these dudes who you saw excel as freshmen a year ago, specifically with Keldrick and Connor, like that's going to be the class that is going to be super. Kay and Lee, these are going to be your juniors next season, and you're seeing
which you have none of this year, basically.
That's important. I don't know. I think everybody's talking about these freshmen, but it's like these sophomores are a part of the equation too.
Oh, totally. Everybody that he's bought, everybody that's been brought in from the high school ranks, it's hard to point out someone that you can just say 100% was a miss so far. Like they're all playing very significant snaps and playing a good bit. Young defensive backs everywhere, and it's kind of crazy.
I mean, Caleb Harris and Kinsley Faustin are like starting as freshmen.
Yeah, and
those are two of the guys like least talked about guys in the class.
Yeah, Kinsley Faustin, I mean, he got ripped, in my opinion, on a pass interference call. He's played solid otherwise. And that's sort of a new development. That's only like 2 weeks ago where he started getting more of the Georgia game. That's whenever he started getting more significant snaps. He made a really good play, broke up a pass on their 6'5" guy that, I think he's in jail now, but still, he's playing really good snaps. So I understand everybody's trepidation. I understand like being, upset about things.
Losing sucks.
Losing is awful. It's inexcusable. All the words that people use, here's something. If you say that there's something to look forward to, if you think that there is a pathway to get better, that doesn't mean that you aren't mad about the losses this year. That doesn't mean like I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing that a ton.
Say that again. Say that again.
Just because you think that the freshmen, the sophomore classes, if they can stay together and move into the next season, you can get better. Just because you think that there's things that could possibly, go in the right direction after this season, it doesn't mean that you're not mad about this past season. I see that so often. Since when is this acceptable at Auburn? It's not acceptable. That's not what people are saying. It's just that maybe it's not just burn the whole thing down and it was a failure. Maybe you still just got to let some of these young guys have time to breathe, time to grow, and because they're getting better. The younger guys are getting better, and then the other younger guys are seeing these guys do well, and they want to be a part of it too. I mean, there's talks about, you've heard the chatter about some of the young guys that seem like they want to win more than the dudes that have been here a while. Hey, why are we laughing in the locker room after a loss? And I'm mad about it. I'm mad that you're doing it. And this is my first year here.
I love that.
I love that
so much.
I love that stuff. I think real recognizes real. And that's why
and stuff like that. And you're telling me they're going to leave? Like somebody who just wants to win here so bad, and you're telling me they're going to leave?
Now, granted, look, money talks, and it is what it is. I'm sure there could be some defections if some things aren't.
I think money talks is a proponent for Auburn. The way NIL's rocking and rolling.
Very good point. Very good point. But again, human nature makes you always want to look over the fence and see what's going on next door. So I can sure
we're probably not going to keep everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody keeps everybody, but there's probably going to be some guys that we lose, but there's a lot of young guys playing a ton of snaps, and I think that's hard to walk away from. I really do. Yeah,
the fan interest right now is interesting, and I want to talk about exactly what I mean in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Roy. Roy stands for Return on You. So far this season, we've pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change with the Roy app. You can deposit your direct support to the athletes you love, ensuring all funds go to specific players, and there's no risk. They don't get it unless they if they transfer, they don't get it, and they also have to give you that exclusive content as well. This week, our Roy Player of the Week, I put Jay Crawford. In there. Absolute dog. And so Roy just pitched in $100, and I'd love for you to join us. Even $10 makes a difference. So give Jay Crawford that love and keep him connected with our school, of course, the Auburn Tigers. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscription and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Here's what I love about this. And look, my job is I'm over all of most of the college channel, all the college shows here at Locked On. And at this point of the season, like, you've got several teams that are pivoting their focus to basketball. You've got several folks that are still all in a playoff hunt. And you've got some folks that are just kind of having a lukewarm season. Maybe they've got 2 losses on the year, and they're already seeing like fan interest drop. That's not happening here. Auburn is having its worst season in literally my lifetime, in your lifetime. Let's just stress, you are way older than me. And
Accurate.
Like the fan interest isn't wavering. And like, that's just so special. And Freeze talked about that yesterday at his presser. He was asked about it by somebody about how like you're still sold out for Vandy and Texas A&M. And like, we all want this so bad. We all want Hugh Freeze to figure this out. We all want these young players to step up and do what we all think and hope they can achieve. And I just think that's an important note that we don't need to brush over. Is the fact of the matter is Auburn fans are different. And sure, we're upset. And I think different parts of the fan base are maybe upset about different things. And there's different various levels of how upset you can be. And all of it's okay. The important thing here is we all still care. We're not at this point of the season where we've just got 2 wins and we haven't beaten a Power 4 opponent. But we all still care. And I think that is so important. And I think sometimes we overlook how rare that is.
I do. And I agree with you. One of the things that I think is what's keeping people locked in, even maybe against their own will, is things that happen like yesterday. When you see those young guys that are committed and you're like, man, I understand that we have found a brand new way to lose a game. It seems like every single loss. But dadgummit, man, these kids just keep wanting to come be a part of this.
Yeah.
It's hard to want to give up, and you're playing close games, and it seems like you could eventually, if the foot drops in the right direction, you make it go on a little bit of a run.
Sure.
So I think people are still locked in. I think that's a good thing, because apathy is what becomes an issue. Apathy. I mean, there's times when I've seen it multiple seasons at Auburn where people are cheering for Auburn. Auburn fans are cheering for Auburn to lose so that the coach can get fired. Like I've seen those seasons. I've seen it to where Auburn just doesn't care anymore. And then I've seen it where Auburn's been like after Harsin was fired, and then you have a sellout for the Texas A&M game. I've seen stuff like that too. I think this fan base is hungry. And the recruiting part of it has really helped keep them locked in and keep them in it. And I'm with you. I think that's something that's very special and should not be underrated at all. Yeah.
And once again, like, as soon as we stop caring is when I think we really have some major trouble. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think it's a great thing to point out.
Yeah, I think you're a great thing to point out. As far as Auburn's chances against Kentucky, I said I wasn't going to do this, but it's like, I don't know, Kentucky's really bad. And like, I know we're not great, but I don't think we're as bad as them. I was surprised the line was just 2.5, according to our friends at FanDuel. So it's like in a neutral site, like we'd be favored by 0.5 point. So I don't know what to make of that. but I do feel somewhat good about Saturday, which sounds ridiculous to say.
I mean, I said right before this run started that I felt like after the Georgia game, even no matter what, I felt like we were going to end up being like less than a touchdown underdog, maybe for the rest of the season. So like, you're playing in these games. It's like, man, you are right there for close to reeling off some wins, and that's what's keeping me locked in as well, is the odds makers can't even throw Auburn away yet. So if they can't, like, we got to give them a chance. I just think Auburn's
I'd love to be in the room when they're making the call on Auburn games. Like, what are they going to do? Like,
yeah,
who is this team?
Yeah, exactly. One thing, I'm with you. I think Auburn's got a chance.
You do the same with Kentucky as well, by the way.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta. One thing that's got to change is, and Hugh mentioned it in his press conference yesterday, is we've got to stop playing not to lose and just say, if we're going to go down swinging and just rip it up and down the field, let it rip. And if you turn it over, you turn it over, but you can't do this playing scared stuff. It may keep you in the game, but when you got to have a play, you're not ready to make the play. And I think that's just not who Hugh Freeze has ever been. I think he's got to let it rip and just see what happens.
Yeah. I wish the team mirrored that personality wise. And I just don't think this team has taken on the personality of its head coach yet.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you this. I think they have. And I think the personality this year after the Cal game is, oh shoot, what do we do? I think I feel that a little bit from Hugh, and I think it's kind of rubbed off on the team. And I think you just have to get to the point where you're just like, think about I think the Oklahoma game was a game where I felt like the team took on the personality of Hugh, and that offense executed really, really well at a high level against really, really good defense. You just had that one freak play at the end where it was just like an situation. And that was 5 wide receivers when you throw that interception. I think you got to go back to regardless if you turn it over, you got to get that mindset where it's like, we're going to go out there and we're going to throw it up and down the field, and we're not going to be scared to turn it over. And if we turn it over, we just turn it over. We'll figure out what we're going to do after that. But I think,
do you think this week is the time to do that against the Kentucky team whose defense is really good and the offense is really bad?
Yeah, there is no wrong time to do
okay.
Like to do the only thing that you can really do well. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's, if you continue to play scared, if you continue to play not to turn it over, I think you're going to have a very similar game that you saw against Missouri. Just a better defense that can stop the run. And I know their offense is terrible, but that, they'll probably just lean on you and hope that eventually you'll not score enough that they can win the field position battle. I think you just got to go reckless abandon and be a killer and just start throwing it and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe it'll awaken something in this team. We'll see.
Hopefully.
We'll see. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. What is next for Auburn on the recruiting front? We touched on that a little bit already, but we dive deeper in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And we talked about it just now. FanDuel has Auburn plus 2.5, unless they updated it, checking 3 to plus 2.5 for the Auburn Tigers. If you had to guess right now,
I bet it stays around. I bet it stays around that. I mean, I'm taking. I got to take the Tigers. I got to take them. It's going to hit. It's going to hit eventually. They've covered every game, by the way. It seems. I think I could be wrong, but I think we got to look at it.
They covered Georgia.
You covered against Missouri. Yeah. I think you've covered just about every game. Hey, great teams covered, baby.
That's right. I think it just means we're close. We're just one step away. We're better than Vegas thinks we are. So there we go.
Vegas.
Oh, man. Yeah, if you want to get on the action, check out our friends at FanDuel.com. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place that first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. All right, when we talk about this recruiting class, we talk about how special it is. There's a lot of dudes in this class, Kyle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dudes in this class, and there's still a few names out there that Auburn appears to be pursuing. I'm still not in on the offered hype. We'll see if it happens. I'm pulling for it to happen. I just can't mentally get there. But after, you get Deuce Knight, it does seem like there's potential to make some moves to add some wide receivers. But are there names in this class where it's like, okay, if they keep adding some guys, they're going to have to get some guys to move on?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are too high. Like you got 27, I think, commits already.
Yeah, I think that's
which
right.
is one of the highest total number classes you've had in a really long time, just from a numbers perspective.
Right.
The last year you signed 21, and you're already at 27 right now. So naturally, you would think if you want to add 3 or 4 more, which it seems like they want to add probably another wide receiver, probably at least one more defensive lineman, another offensive lineman. And then you got Naheem Alford out there. And I think they'd probably make room for 2 wide receivers if one of them was Caleb Cunningham. Like there's guys that they're still going after. Naturally, you would think that you're going to lose some. And I would look at probably the 2 biggest position groups that you have commitments in at offensive line and maybe even defensive back. You could probably see you've got Donovan Starr, who's taken a bunch of visits, even though he says I'm locked into Auburn. You haven't heard from Devin Williams in a really long time. That's a long time commitment. I think he's flirted with Texas, a lot of different places. I don't even know that he's been to Auburn this year.
He's a good player, but he's been kind of just forgotten about, it seems like.
But those are some guys. I mean, and then you got several offensive linemen that are, maybe early commitments or things like that you could see maybe go elsewhere. But naturally you would expect some attrition. And then, you could have some of the more crucial attrition too, if you keep losing. But it's the numbers are sort of up there. There's going to be some flee, and then you're going to be adding some. Like I'm really got my eyes on flee. Yeah. Flee.
Like run away, flee.
That was a bad term.
No,
maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't.
I don't think it. I just didn't expect it. That's all. Yeah. I just wanted to point it out.
I'm watching one that I got my eye on who just officially decommitted from Florida yesterday.
Yes.
4-star lineman, a defensive lineman. I think it's Joseph Mbachu. He is from Grayson High School. Who is also a big Grayson guy, and that's Kenyatta Watson. Very big in this recruitment. I think Steve Wiltfong said he loves where Auburn is. I think Auburn's always kind of been there. And this kid is one of those that all of the big schools sort of had him on their wait and see list, and Auburn's made him a priority.
I love that.
And he's a good player. He could be a really good one to add to that defensive line class. It's already really strong. If
you had to use a few words to describe the job that Kenyatta has done so far, can you hit me with a few words?
Yeah. So obviously superb is just right there at the top. Elite, that makes people mad because I say elite a lot. So we're going to go with elite.
Okay.
Spectacular is another one that I would love. Clutch. How about clutch? Being able to pull these guys in a tough situation. I don't know. How about you? Hit me with one.
Oh man. Mesmerizing.
Superfluous.
Intoxicating. Passionate.
Sure. Passionate. I like that one.
Just go to bed thinking about Kenyatta. You know what I mean? Like, who's he gonna get next?
Yeah.
Who's he gonna get next?
I can't even sleep. I'm so excited thinking about it.
Oh man. You called that, by the way. Props to you.
Years ago. Before
you got called a lot of messed up stuff when you were hyping up. Like, this may have been the best hire of the offseason. A lot of people really came after you saying some pretty messed up stuff, and he has been exceptional at attracting talent to Auburn.
He's a stud. He's been the big. He is.
Does he button his top button? Would you say?
I'm working on it. We've been messaging back and forth. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him into being a top button guy. I bet you we can find a picture of it. We'll see.
Surely.
That's something we need to research.
All right. Okay, cool. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. Subscribe to thebarnauburn.com.
Yes.
The $1 intro is only
$1.
It's only lasting for just a little bit longer. So definitely take advantage of that.
Oh.
It's only $1. If you hate it, I'll send you $1.
How about that?
No, it's a great investment, and you'll have a lot of fun. A lot of intel we dropped yesterday. A lot of stuff behind the scenes as far as the vibes go around the team, stuff like that. And then obviously we got recruiting and other team news as well. Even there's some hoop stuff that just went up last night too. That's going to be a lot of fun to check out. So a lot of fun, a lot of great conversations, and obviously you can subscribe to the Barn Auburn YouTube page as well, where you can catch me every single day. Me and Zep do a basketball show as well, and then you got Zach and Brad that have their show also. A lot of fun.
Yeah, just search the Barn Auburn on YouTube. Subscribe there. Super fun stuff. Extra Auburn content.
Hey, real quick, Zach. Guess what? Did you know that we're on the payroll? Have you heard this? We're on the payroll.
Apparently,
this show's a great example of us being on the payroll.
Apparently we're getting paid to speak positively about the program. It hasn't hit my account yet. So
yeah, I'm waiting for it.
I'm waiting for
that check's going to be massive. It's got to be. It's got to be massive. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. So I can't wait to see it.
I don't know. I feel like we'd be way more positive if that was like. I don't think we'd be doing that good of a job if that was the case.
Speak for yourself.
I got DM 2 days ago. It was like, why does the Locked On Auburn host hate Auburn so much? It's like, I'm clearly not doing a good job if they're paying me to do that.
I know, man. They're gonna give your portion to me probably.
I guess I
don't know who they are, but they
whenever we ask who are you talking about, they never really want to address that.
We don't know. We put it in quotation marks and everything, but we don't know who it is.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're accusing us. What's going on there? Whatever. If anybody knows, just let us know. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.